what we have done, what hasn't been done, what is not going to get done, and as we, and what that means to each of you.
There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land.
To seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, thus do we covenant with each other. El amor es la enseñanza de esta iglesia. Buscar la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es la oración. Vivir juntos en paz. Young and old are encouraged to give. We will now receive this morning's offering of the Westside Food Bank, and please stay up for a time for all ages led by Carl Lasofsky, which I'm very much looking forward to. Carl and Linda have been filling in as our wonderful colleague and member of the youth ministry. Jessica got married yesterday. So thanks for all of you who are filling in, and thank you, Carl.
That might help. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
We're talking about listening today. That's the theme of our month. I listen with my ears. Is there any other way to listen? Maybe with your heart? Do you listen to the little voice within that you trust? I'm going to tell a story today. It's a story about listening. It's called The Coins and the Crickets. The story of two friends. One from the city, one from the country. And the country friend came to the city for a visit. And they're standing on the street corner, and it's noisy. There's loud sirens and people shouting and cars and everything. And the friend from the country says, I hear a cricket. City friend said, that's impossible. I can't hear anything like that. And country friend says, come here, let's cross the street. I think it's over there. And they cross the street, and they head up a path, and sure enough, underneath a bush, there's a cricket. And the city friend, you must have like superhuman ears or something. That's impossible. And country friend says, no, your ears are just as good as mine. It just kind of depends on what you're listening for. Come here, let's go back. And so they go back across the street, and country friend takes a few coins out of her pocket and drops them on the concrete, on the pavement. And all these people turn around and see people who are quite far away. And country friend sees. It just kind of depends what you're listening for. So in the midst of all the noise in our lives, can we maybe hear our heart, listen to our heart? Can we hear that little voice inside that we trust? Can we hear the crickets?
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you as you go on your way. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you as you go on your way.
do have a few announcements this morning. Chalice Circles are starting up again November 20th, and this will be a one-on-one in-person experience, well, not one-on-one, but a small group experience with Betty Barkley and Ann Bridgens. These are special circle practices, and I encourage you to give it a try. This round will be in Forbes Hall, third Wednesday of each month from 1 to 3. On November 10th, we're looking forward to a very intriguing adult religious education series in 3 parts called An Introduction to Religious Naturalism. James Whitaker is leading this exploration of a movement informed by science and ancient wisdoms. One proponent of the movement was Albert Einstein. Are you intrigued? I am. Our beautiful annual Day of the Dead service will be held on Sunday, October 27th, followed by dedications in the Garden of Eternity right out here in the side yard. This is for folks who have died in the last year. Norm Ritchie, our membership chair, is starting a membership class soon. If you have been attending church here once or a few times and have a sense you'd like to explore becoming a member, please email Norm at membership@uusm.org. You can find this info at our visitors table, which will be out here in the courtyard after the service as well. It was really so great to see the welcoming ceremony for our new members last week. So fantastic, and we look forward to welcoming more. UU Animal Ministry meeting is today in Forbes Hall at noon in room 2. And finally, there's a special ballot forum after the services today. Of course, we do know this is election time. We will be joined by special guests from the Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice, and also guests from the League of Women Voters to help folks learn more about the many measures and propositions on our ballot in November. They can get complicated, so stay informed. There's going to be lots more information on our website and our e-newsletter, so look there for more details. And now is the time you've all been waiting for. Greet your neighbor. When you start to hear the music, you can start to settle down and move on to the next phase of our delightful service. But go ahead and greet your neighbors. All right, the music is playing. It's time to take a seat and ready your hearts. You're going to start listening with your hearts.
heard that song when they were rehearsing, and it just cracked me wide open. Thank you so much. Sometimes that's all we need, is the right word, the right note, the right song. We've had church, we can go home. This is the time for acknowledging that we live in community, that we are a community, this congregation, and that each week we have joys and sorrows, some which we share, some which we hold in the recesses of our hearts. It is an opportunity to come in a spirit of prayer and meditation, to vibrate together, to offer words of thanksgiving and awe, or just simply to listen to whatever gods you worship. And so, knowing that our religious educator, Jessica, has gotten married this weekend, we are happy for her and happy she was able to pull her, ooh. Pull herself away from us in order to enjoy her time with her family and friends in the Midwest. I can't remember what state she's in. I think it's Wisconsin. I'm not sure. So we remember her, and whatever else is on your hearts, we will take a few moments of silence to listen. Just to listen. Gently bring yourselves back to the sanctuary. Our reading this morning, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So I've got Kleenex, I've got drops. I'm not dying. Existentially, I am dying, but not here, not this morning. This reading is called Listening from the Heart. It's adapted from a piece called Listening from the Heart by Gary Kowalski, who is a UU minister. And he says, maybe holy listening means truly listening. unplugging the TV, turning off the computer, quieting the mental chatter and distractions. Maybe it means listening to the birds and the insects, the wind and the leaves, the creaking and groaning of the trees, noticing, sitting so still we can hear our heartbeat. Maybe it means listening to our dreams, paying more attention to what we really want from life, and less attention to all the nagging, scolding voices from our past. Or maybe it's all about listening to each other, not thinking ahead to how we can rebut or advise or admonish, but actually being present to each other. Maybe holy listening means listening to the silences between the words, noticing the vast, undifferentiated, and nameless wonder that underlies it all. Holy listening, listening with the heart to the angel choirs all around us. Have you ever wished that someone would stop talking and just listen to you? Have you ever felt you were listening to someone, but even though you understood the words they were using, you were missing the meaning? Sometimes, rather than listening with your ears and processing with your brain, you need to listen with your heart and take in the meaning there. We do. Who is the person who listens best to you? Who is the person with whom you can share your trivial concerns without fear or judgment? Your memories, again, your decisions, your annoyances, your observations, your judgments. Who is the person who listens to you with their heart? We teach our children to speak in the very first months of their lives. We coax them to say mama and daddy. We listen for any sound that is close to those names, and we applaud every effort the children make. We do not, however, teach them to listen. As a rule, we don't say, listen, sweetie, hear that? Or what do you hear? We never applaud when good job listening. We don't teach them how, but then later we chastise or punish a child for not listening. We say, listen, as a command or a complaint or a threat. When as adults we are finally taught to listen, we are taught active listening. We learn techniques like mirroring and paraphrasing and checking for understanding and translating body language. Most of us are decent listeners. We listen for affirmation, we listen for confirmation, we listen for space to jump in with our own ideas. We learn to be polite listeners. For example, when I lived in a commune, before speaking in a group discussion, we had to say, I appreciate what you have said, and if I understood you correctly, and then you go on to say whatever, I think you're an idiot, but very, very nicely we said it. In grad school or in professional development training, we learn critical listening. We learn to find the error. We learn to listen for the fault in the logic. We learn to listen so that we can identify that missing piece. Now, these techniques are great in debate and in classrooms and other formal situations, but sometimes these active listening tactics are not enough. You may be listening with the right actions. You may be thinking about the right actions to take when listening, but it's also important to listen with the right attitude, to notice how you are feeling about your listening and about the person that you're listening to. For example, think of the differences in attitude that you have when listening to a joke that you've heard before, that you told better, When listening to instructions for a dish that you enjoyed, as opposed to when you're trying to make this dish. Listening for mediating a disagreement between two people that you love. Listening to a friend whine again about the partner they've had for 20 years and intend to keep. They all require different attitudes to the listening event. This morning, I invite you to think about the difference between listening with your brain and listening with your heart. When you listen with your brain, you'll hear all the words that convey the facts, the data, and the information related to the message. But what's the best way to listen? How many times do you get the words and miss the message? How often are you confused because you're using the same words as the person you're talking with, but you are talking about two different things? A woman came to my house this week, and I was up. It was late in the afternoon, and I opened the door, and I was so surprised to see her. I said, "What are you doing here?" She was all dressed up. She said, "Because we're riding together to the thing." I said, "What thing?" "The thing tonight. You said that we were gonna go together." I said, "Yeah, we were gonna go together, not to the thing tonight. I never planned to go to the thing tonight. We're going to the thing in December." She said, "December? I hadn't even thought about the thing in December." So we went back and forth. She was very, very gracious. I said, "Well, come on in since you're so early." And we had a cup of tea, and it was a nice conversation. But the point is that we are highly educated women. And we were using the same words. We were talking about the same people. We were talking about the same group and the umbrella event, but we totally missed the dates. We forgot about the dates. So when you just use your brain, you end up listening for the wrong things. Some things require you listen with your head. Other things require you listen with your heart. Some things require heart listening. Some things require hard listening. Listening for heart sounds, heart tones, heart songs. How can you use both head and heart? You can make it a spiritual practice when you approach the speaker with the appropriate listening attitude. Holy listening becomes holy listening. Hafid said, "How do I listen to others as if everyone was my beloved speaking to me her cherished last words? How do I listen to you as if you were the Alpha and Omega of all sound?" The Alpha and Omega of all sound. That is not the attitude I usually take when I'm listening. It is the attitude, though, that I aspire to. When you seek to make listening with your heart a spiritual practice, you might first practice listening to your own heart. Rumi said to sit quietly and listen for a voice that will say, "Be more silent." As that happens, your soul starts to revive. Listen to the whispers of the universe. Listen to the voices of your gods. Khalil Gibran said, "Before my soul took me to task, I was hard of hearing. I heard only tumult and uproar, but now I'm all ears, listening to the silence and its choirs, singing the hymns of time, listening to the silence and its choirs, singing the hymns of time, intoning the praises of the firmament, revealing the secrets of the invisible." This listening as a spiritual practice is what allows you to sit with love and visit with relatives who are so much more conservative than you are, or with friends who are just plain nuts. It enables you to listen to someone who occupies a different world, whose sense of reality is not yours. If you listen with your ears, they make no sense. But if you listen with your heart, you can perhaps feel what they are saying or trying to say. And even more importantly, they will feel that you care. As a spiritual practice, you can listen someone into existence. You can communicate the most important thing. I see you, and I care. I see all of you. I see the parts that you project. I see the parts that others tease you about. I see the wounds and scars that you try to hide. I see your pain. I don't understand it all. I can't fix it, but I am here. I am listening. As you weep, I hold your heart in my heart. I believe everyone can listen with their hearts. I also know that you can't listen to everyone who needs a listener. You have to decide what your capacity for listening is. A couple of years ago, the love of my life died after 10 people I love had already died in the past 10 months. I was a mess. My heart was very heavy. And what I learned and had to remember was that everyone doesn't have the capacity to listen to what I have to say. Even then, in the nadir of my existence, no matter how much they loved me, everyone couldn't listen to my pain. That's what therapists are for. That's what ministers are for. That's what spiritual directors are for. That's what journals are for. It doesn't mean that no one loves you. It means that your pain may be too great in this moment for any particular person to hold for you by listening to you. Sometimes the one person you may want to talk to and just listen to how hurt you are may be the one person who cannot do that because it's just not their nature. Because it's their nature to see both sides, and you need an ally. It's their nature to fix things, and you can fix it, but you just need to talk. It's their nature to tell you how wrong you are, and that's not what you need, because you can do that yourself. It's their nature not to hurt your feelings, but you need to hear the truth. So they don't offer you truths that you really need to hear. Everybody can't listen to everything. The spiritual traditions of sitting with mystics and holy listening and confession and assurances of pardon and spiritual direction and meditation and contemplation, they are all ways, all names for listening with the heart. It is the listening you do to show you care, to allow someone to work something out aloud, sometimes just in saying it. In asking the question, we hear the answer. To hear what someone's heart is trying to tell you. To hear the cries of your own heart. Often in listening to someone else, you will hear something that you needed to hear. So it's important to remember this. Just because someone is telling you their problems doesn't mean you need to fix them, no matter how great you are at problem solving. If you are listening with the heart, you will speak from the heart and say, I can't decide that for you. I can't fix it for you. I can't make the pain go away, but I can listen. Don't put yourself in their shoes. Their shoes will not fit you. Don't ask yourself, what would you do if you were them? You're not them. Don't analyze the words, but listen to the spaces between the words. Notice the feeling tone. Listen to what they are not saying. Sometimes there'll be two of you who both need to listen to each other with your hearts. To listen and to hear the woundedness. To listen to and hear the desire for reconciliation. To listen to and hear the forgiveness. Sometimes the best thing we can do for someone is to listen. Wholly listen. Listen as if it were your beloved speaking to you their cherished last words.
Your offering today goes to support the work of multiple groups in the church, and I want to call out in particular the work of the pastoral care team, who bring their deep listening hearts to our congregation. That's just one of many, many efforts that your donations support within our church. In addition, half of our Sunday offerings this month will go to the Santa Monica Area Interfaith Council. The council's mission is to create a collaborative environment among people of all faiths in this region through education, community activities, and interfaith dialogue that will foster peace and justice. The council organizes an annual MLK Interfaith Breakfast, an annual Interfaith Holocaust Remembrance Day, and protests and rallies such as the latest Rally for Reproductive Justice is Life, to counter the Right to Life rally at the Santa Monica Pier. We invite you to contribute in whatever way feels right to you. The options are displayed on the slide behind me, and all are gratefully accepted. If you're new or visiting or simply prefer more traditional methods of cash and checks, we invite you to put your offering in the offertory bags that will be passed around shortly. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all that you give monetarily, and so many of you, in addition to monetary support, you give of your time, you give of your heart, and it makes all the difference here. The ushers are invited to come forward, and your offering will now be gratefully received.
Please rise in body or in spirit for our closing hymn. This is 1029 in your teal hymnal, Love Knocks and Waits for Us to Hear.
We can't do these services with just a few people. It really does take a village to get this service going. So we are grateful to Mia and Aubrey, who sit in the back of the room and make sure that the technology from this end works, and to Liz and to Pam, who make sure that the technology works in the world of the invisible. We are grateful to those of you who visit us online. I am personally extraordinarily grateful for the musicians and the wonderful way they bring the word each week. I am grateful to you all for showing up. There are, as they say on the plains, we know that you have many alternatives. And I frankly love worshiping with Sister Comforter on a Sunday morning. And so we are grateful that you are here. We sometimes stand in the back and look to see if the pews are full and say, ooh, is anybody coming this morning? But we recognize that some of you come to the 10:30 service and some of you come to the 10:45 service. But we're grateful for any time that you show up. So we have wonderful people who slip out and prepare coffee and snacks for us, and we're going to release you for that in just a moment. And there is our sexton, Tom, who opens the gates, who sets up the parking structure in and out thingy so that you can park for free and safely, and who keeps our sanctuary and our grounds clean. So thank you, Tom. Yes, let's give Tom a hand. Oh, the ushers and the greeters, and they work very hard. It doesn't look like they're working hard because they're just passing out paper and telling you to put on a name tag, but they are, and they do things that you can't see. We can see what's going on from this way, but they handle it with just great care and finesse and quiet. And so we are grateful for the work of the ushers and the greeters. I left out a group. Who's the group? Thank you. Thank you. I really do. Thank you. So this service is over. Our service to the world continues. Go out into the world, see what you can hear, feel what you can hear. And so we extinguish the light of our chalice and carry the flame in our hearts.